The best sex is the best of real sex. The splashiest segments from 7 sexy years. Exotic, erotic, the best of real sex 97. Premieres November 21st, around midnight on HBO.
This Saturday on HBO, the road to the truth can be scary.
You run now, you're gonna run till you die.
The facts, terrifying.
I thought it was likely that this baby had been retained dead in a refrigerator.
And the opposition, brutal. This Saturday night, it's the premiere of Sleepers at 8, followed by Autopsy 4, The Dead Speak at 10:30, and Boxing After Dark at 11:30. This Saturday on HBO.
This week on HBO's Inside the NFL, Warren Moon threw 5 touchdown passes to lead Seattle to their 5th victory. Chiefs quarterback Elvis Grbac has found Graceland in Kansas City. He joins us on NFL Crosstalk. The Cowboys are having more ups and downs than the stock market. Andrea Joyce reports on the panic. And a look back at one of the AFL's greatest defensive tackles, Ernie Ladd.
Goblins and Ghost Watch. Inside the NFL with your hosts, Glenn Dawson, Nick Bonacotti, Chris Collinsworth, and Jerry Glanville.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. If you look around, you can tell what week it is. It's the week of the Ghosts and the Goblins, Halloween week. And there are a lot of strange things happening in the National Football League. For example, a quarterback punches an ex-quarterback, hurts his hand, and he can't play. Case in point, Jim Harbaugh says that he hit Jim Kelly on the head. Only Jim Kelly says, I didn't feel anything on my head, so it must be the ghosts and the Goblins.
You know, it was also a very frightening week this past Monday night for a lot of teams around the NFL as they watched the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre play that game. They had to be thinking, they're back.
Told you all they needed was a week off.
You're right.
I'll tell you one guy who may end up with more than a week off. That's the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Dennis Green. And, Jerry, that's because of what he said in his book, that he wants to have controlling interest of the ownership of the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy wanting to own a football team. I think the problem is when you threaten the present owners that you're going to sue them if they don't sell you the football team.
You know what bothers me more than anything is that he is taking on Roger Hedrick, the president and CEO of the team. And this is a guy who supported Dennis Green through his personal problems last year when Dennis was accused of sexual harassment, and then the fans wanted his head and wanted him fired. The guy who stood by his side was Roger Hedrick.
And I think that Dennis Green is going to have to come up with a pretty elaborate apology to get out of this one and really keep his job. But the whole issue is made even more complicated by the fact that here is a successful minority head football coach in the NFL that now wants to buy some of the ownership. And let's face it, there's not exactly a lot of minority ownership in the National Football League right now. The league has to be very careful how they handle this situation.
Minnesota has 10 owners. That is not the case with the Atlanta Falcons. They've had one owner since they got the franchise back in 1965, and that is Rankin Smith. Rankin Smith passed away, and this week the NFL is mourning his death. And Jerry, you were at the services on Tuesday. You've known this man for 20 years. You've worked for him in various capacities as a coach there. The Falcons fans are maybe a little irritated they never won a Super Bowl, but what type of an individual was he?
I wish all the fans could have known Rankin Smith outside of football. This was a very kind man, a giving man, guy that would help you with any problems that you had. And I think the legacy he leaves behind, he's left over $40 million for the children of Atlanta to be better educated in the future.
Well, that says a great deal about that individual. But the Falcons weren't the only team to mourn the loss of owner Rankin Smith. Because of Smith's influence on the expansion committee, Carolina was awarded a franchise. Smith wanted potential rivals for the Falcons. The Atlanta-Carolina rivalry was played out last Sunday.
And dreary night in Carolina. One of the few bright spots for Atlanta was Jamal Anderson, who scored the Falcons' lone touchdown. It was the long-delayed coming-out party for Tamanga Biakabatuka.
Fights off one tackler, 2 to the 5, 2 Shepard.
While rookie quarterback Tony Graziani was blitzed into a benching by halftime, Panther quarterback Kerry Collins was both erratic and accurate. Biakabatuka ran for over 100 yards for the first time and scored twice. Victory had more tricks than treats. Three Rivers Stadium housed a flood tide of thrills. The electric atmosphere was playoff caliber as the Steelers and Jaguars played for first place in the AFC Central.
What we're talking about right here, guys, AFC Central, this is what's on the line. First step right here to a championship season. Let's go.
We're in our backyard, man. Let's take care of some business now, right from the get-go. Let's go.
By kickoff, so much emotion had been spent that all the screaming was reduced to a squeak. The first half was a nightmare of self-inflicted Steeler wounds. Cordell Stewart forced passes into coverage. Sometimes he was lucky, but luck always evens out.
Play smart. Let's play smart. Let's play hard.
The Steelers were pancaked and then toasted.
Billy Jackson.
The Jaguars built a 10-0 halftime lead. But the Steelers are a 60-minute team. Never applied the brakes in the second half. Punished the Jaguar defense for almost 100 yards. And Cordell Stewart regained command of the passing game.
And the pass is caught.
It's also fueled by Yancey Thigpen, who caught 11 passes for 196 yards. Big-time player made a huge mistake. This heavyweight fight went to the final round, tied at 17 in overtime.
Made it happen, hey. Way to save me, baby. That was nice.
No one can save the St. Louis Rams this season, but against the Chiefs, number 91, Leslie O'Neal, registered 4 sacks. Chiefs by over 100 yards. But in the clutch, Elvis Grbac was a precision passer.
Allen, right up the middle, touchdown! Number 117.
The Chiefs' 300th franchise victory sets up a Monday night showdown with the Steelers.
Be 6-2 midway through this season. A big reason why they are is the play of their quarterback, Elvis Grbac. He joins us now on NFL Crosstalk. Elvis, thank you very much for joining us. But what about that cap that you have on your head? What's that all about?
Well, obviously, growing up in Cleveland, I'm a big Indians fan, and them making to the World Series and not anybody giving them a chance. I'm paying tribute to them a little bit.
Watching you with the San Francisco 49ers, I never thought of you as a runner and a scrambler. And this year, I see more athletic ability than I knew that you had. Is this by design, or did you do this back at Michigan?
No, I think it was just something I've always had. I'm always looking for an opportunity to make a play, and there's always 3 or 4 times in a game where I think a quarterback has to make a play. If it's a running play or if it's a passing play, then so be it. But it has presented itself in the last couple games, and I've just made the most of my opportunities.
Well, let's talk about your man. That would be the Spider-Man, Andre Rison. This is one of the best combinations in the National Football League this year. How did that all come about? Why the success between you two?
Well, obviously, I think both of us coming from, some would say, the West Coast offense, me from San Francisco and Andre from Green Bay. I think there was a time where we came into training camp where the terminology was very similar, so everything really worked out from the get-go. And then obviously with his tempo in practice, it really helped me out, and he just comes and he plays at a level that, that is tops in the NFL, and that's what I'm looking forward to all the time.
Well, I want to talk about your running game. It's by committee, but now you're going against the #1 rushing defense in the National Football League, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is there one member of that committee that can do the job against them?
Well, I'm not sure. It's we've got a combination of running backs that can really hurt a defense. Obviously, our offensive line has to come and play well, but like you said, their defense is geared to stop the run. But I think we've got a running game that isn't click right now, and we can use a combination of a couple of guys in the backfield that can really do damage against the defense.
Most of my adult life, I always wanted to talk to the real Elvis. Were you named after the king?
I think my father had a thing for Elvis Presley at the time. He was, he was really famous at the time. So, I think I did get stuck with it.
Well, that means that Jerry can leave some tickets for you around the National Football League and even baseball as well. Elvis, thank you very much for taking time to be with us. Good luck Monday against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Thank you.
Jerry, we don't have an Elvis on this program, but when it comes to analyzing games, we have two kings.
Two self-anointed kings.
And their names would be Chris and Nick.
Now, don't be cruel over there, guys. Here we go.
Two-hearted fools.
There's a couple of hound dogs over there. Now let's talk about this game. Pittsburgh and Kansas City. They got together last year for a Monday night game in Kansas City. Pittsburgh blew them out. But this Kansas City defense has been remade.
Yeah, how about their running game? Does that count at all? Here, they go draft Greg Hill. He's supposed to be the real deal. Well, they need a new deal. Since the Denver game, the first game of the year, he's probably averaging around 2 yards a carry. I look for this to go this way here. Elvis Grbac has come up with a lot of second and longs against that Pittsburgh zone blitz. It spells doom for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like Pittsburgh.
I disagree. I think Donnell Bennett finally gives them that big back that they've needed to add a little balance to the offensive side for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, but that big back's had a bad wheel for 2 years.
Well, but that's all right. But he showed up the other night, and he looked good. But when you look now at the problems on Kansas City, it has been on the defensive side of the football, especially in that secondary because of the injuries back there to Dale Carter. But when you have Derek Thomas back rushing the passer, all of a sudden the secondary gets healthy again. I like Kansas City here. Let's go back over to the two court gestures and find out what they think now.
Court gestures, how can they say that about us? We're serious about this Kansas City-Pittsburgh game. I think Kansas City is going to win. The big reason is the play of the tight ends. Last week against the Rams, Grbac got 10 passes to his tight ends, so Ted Popson and Tony Gonzalez, when the Pittsburgh Steelers are blitzing, they're going to be hot receivers going right down to the middle of the field, coming up with big plays.
Those tight ends won't be effective against the Steeler defense. The Steeler defense, they're unbelievable. They've lost 2 defensive coordinators. They've lost 2 corners, nose tackle. Unbelievable outside linebacker goes out to Seattle, and they just keep playing great defense. And that's because Bill Cowher's there. And as long as Cowher's there, the defense will be able to shut down Kansas City. And one thing people haven't noticed, Cowher, in November, since he's been the head coach, they're 10-1. And winning in November, this is the time of year you get ready for those playoffs. Heartbreak Hotel in Kansas City, Steelers.
Heartbreak Hotel. Somebody's going to be heartbroken because this is going to be an outstanding game. Well, Elvis has left our arena, but there's a lot more on this show. Let's start with highlights of the game in Arizona, which was the first NFL start for Cardinals quarterback Jake Plummer.
Arizona called in a plumber last week to fix the leaks in a Cardinal team now off to their worst start since moving to the desert. But it was hometown hero Jake the Snake Plummer who got rattled as the Oiler defense rolled.
To Plummer, he fires, and it's picked off by Walker. He's at the 35, the 30, the 25, the 20, 15, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Denard Walker. Well, so much for Jake's debut.
While the defense was skinning the Snake with 4 interceptions, it was Oiler quarterback Steve McNair who slithered into the end zone. McNair ran for 2 scores and connected with Chris Sanders on 2 others as the Oilers won their 3rd straight game. And at the season's midpoint, find themselves in the postseason hunt. Kansas City, Mike Ditka is trying to work the kinks out of a Saints offense ranked last in the NFL. But New Orleans was whitewashed for the 2nd straight week, this time by San Francisco's top-ranked defense. Steve Young tossed a pair of touchdowns as the 49ers continued their romp through the NFC West. It was San Francisco's 7th straight, keeping pace with Denver for the league's best record. Face their first true test in weeks, however, when they host Dallas on Sunday. Cowboys were on the road last Sunday, a bad place to be considering they had lost their last 3 road trips. Worse still, Dallas was in Philadelphia, where the Eagles have won every game this season.
Look out, 3, 1, 2, 3, knock out!
With 4 of their last 5 meetings decided by 4 points or less, both teams pressed to make the momentum-changing play.
High left, slot open, slip. Giant right hot, 373 F flat.
Each snap proved to be a knockdown, drag-out affair.
Baby, keep fighting out there. Keep our ass fighting. Be smart. Be smart. Don't give them nothing.
They give us that 30 nickel again, and they'll bring my guy. Set them up, so I'm going to tattoo his ass.
In the first quarter, Philadelphia delivered a knockout blow.
Slow getting up.
Even though Troy Aikman was sidelined with a concussion, the Cowboys were still able to move the ball. Smith gained 126 yards rushing, and Michael Irvin averaged 19 yards a catch. Dallas got inside the 20-yard line. The red zone became the dead zone. 4 scoring opportunities produced just 4 field goals.
Plenty of time on the clock now to mend this thing, to get it kicked in. I'm just telling you this, they can't stop the 99.
I feel you. I know what they're going to do when we lose. I know they lynching us. We can't lose.
4th and 11. This could be the game right here with 2:45 remaining. Heat back, Heat setting, Heat does it, Heat completes it, but I think short of a first down. If he's real close, look at that referee comes up the field. We'll see where they start it. We got it! We got it! Throw it, throw it, throw it! Yeah, throw it!
By 6, Philadelphia did just that.
We talked last night about what it was going to take. We talked about what we had to do as a team. Everybody dug down deep. Everybody on this team dug down deep to get this one done for us. They dug all the way down to the bottom of their souls to pull it out. Because we needed everybody. We needed everybody. I'm proud of you guys, man.
Coming up on HBO's Inside the NFL. Tampa Bay comes up a buck short as Minnesota's defense dominates. And a look back at one of the biggest stars of the AFL, Ernie Ladd, known as the Big Cat.
Folks, don't miss this week's Where Are They Now? It's on Ernie Ladd. Here is a guy that chased me around for years trying to tear my head off. Eventually, he became a teammate and a friend. A lot of things in Ernie's life have changed, but he hasn't changed his outspokenness. He tells you what he feels. Well, a team that has changed is the Dallas Cowboys. Halfway through the season, people are already counting them out of the race. Andrea Joyce reports.
It's a scary Halloween for the Cowboys. Everywhere they turn, they see their own obituaries. After winning 3 Super Bowls this decade, Dallas is in trouble. With 3 losses in their last 4 games, many wonder if this is the end of the Cowboys dynasty.
Well, I don't think the team's peaked. I like to not believe that. I think this team still has the talent and ability to win and get to the tournament.
I don't think we're ready to concede that the dynasty is over, if there ever was a dynasty, or that the better years for this football team are behind us.
Here in Dallas, where everything seems bigger than life, the Cowboys have always provided more than their share of drama. But now, the team that was once the most feared in the country is barely raising any pulses, and that famous Cowboys swagger is beginning to look more like a limp.
We do suck. At this point in time, we're not what we've been giving people. We're not living up to the expectation. What we had on everybody before was talent and enthusiasm and confidence. What we got right now is a lack of confidence.
That comes from a myriad of problems. First, the age issue. 18 players are at least 30 years old, including 10 starters.
I planned it that way. I knew exactly how old Nate Newton was going to be in 1997 when I signed him to a contract and go on down the roster. The plan was to have very accomplished veteran players, players that had played in big games, won most of them.
We're struggling right now, not because we're too old, because we're making dumb mistakes.
Still, Father Time cannot be ignored. Has age limited Emmitt Smith to 1 rushing touchdown? The future Hall of Famer says no, but has had to turn to his faith in God to get through this tough time.
Still have it. He gave me that confidence. Yes, you still do have it. You just got to go out there and relax and be patient about it and let me take care of this. And so, you know, it's been different. It's been different since about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's been different.
Also hurting America's team, free agency and injuries that have decimated the roster. The last thing they needed was Troy Aikman's concussion last Sunday, the 5th of his pro career.
There is definitely a concern on my part, and I don't try to minimize the seriousness of the injury, and nor do I try to come across as you know, a macho guy, and this is my role within the football team to continually put myself at risk. I'm playing because I feel like I'm not at risk, and I do realize the seriousness of the injury.
Another Aikman headache, the team's inability to score. With just 9 touchdowns in 32 tries inside their opponent's 20-yard line, Dallas ranks 29th in the league in that category.
It's our inefficient ability in the green zone to score that has kept us from being the football team we need to be.
It's been frustrating for myself. It's been frustrating for everybody, and our whole football team for that matter, because in some of those games that we've lost, if we just score a touchdown, then that alone is a difference in the ball game. And it's a team that is not accustomed to not being able to score when we get down in there.
5 straight division titles, but the Cowboys are now in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time since 1990. That has everyone looking for answers.
We have to do some soul searching ourselves. each and every player have to do some soul searching and really coming to the conclusion whether or not they want to pursue or they want the desire or the fire to be back in them to go out and perform like champions.
I'm not counting us out at all. As a matter of fact, I assume that we're going to have an opportunity to be better, get in the playoffs, and show that, make that run to the Super Bowl.
Jerry Jones may sound optimistic, but Dallas knows the remainder of the season is crucial. 8 games that will go a long way in determining if the old Cowboys still have it or if they are just old Cowboys.
We are going to find out if the Dallas Cowboys still have it, because this week they travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, and Dallas has been struggling. They are 4-4. Those 4 losses are in their division. On the other hand, San Francisco enjoys the best record in the NFC, and they enjoy, Jerry, a 3-game lead in their division.
Well, the 49ers have won 7 in a row, but who have they beat? Absolutely no one. All they're playing is the NFC West. In the NFC West right now, there are no quarterbacks other than Steve Young. This week, they go against all-pro quarterback Troy Aikman.
Hey, I don't care how good a quarterback you are, Jerry, you cannot throw from the seat of your pants. I mean, Troy Aikman has been sacked 20 times already. That's more than he was sacked all last year. The big problem is their offensive tackle. They're trying to move Larry Allen out there on passing situations, but this week they don't have that luxury because there's a one-man wrecking crew defensive tackle, Dana Stubblefield for the 49ers, and they have to keep Allen there if they're going to keep Aikman in the game.
I don't know. I think they still have to move Larry Allen out there because George Hegeman, who is a pretty good run-blocking tackle, just cannot hold up as a pass-protecting tackle out there. The Dallas Cowboys have not won a road game since opening day when they blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I like what they did last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. I know they got beat in a ball game, but they got Emmitt Smith going. They ended up playing a little bit better on that offensive line. I just have a feeling here the Cowboys might surprise some people.
Let's talk about the red zone, where you score touchdowns in the red zone. The Dallas Cowboys are 29th, next to last in that department. On top of that, in that giveaway takeaway category, the 49ers are #1 in the league by a long shot. That means now Dallas is going to have to travel 70 and 80 yards to get into the end zone. That's going to be very tough, especially since the guy that they brought in to be their big play man, Anthony Miller, is not getting it done. He has 1 catch over 25 yards this year, none in the last 7 games. Jerry, I like the 49ers.
Well, I agree with you, and that's scary. And I'll tell you why I agree with you. Because on 1st and 10, the 49ers are in the I formation. In the past, they had a run sideways sweep. The line's not that good. They're hitting up there quick in the I formation. And on 1st and 10, it's become a screen down. The line's not good enough to play. The screens make the play work. 49ers win.
Well, you know the problem with the 49ers are their injuries. The offensive line are having all kinds of Jesse Sapolo, Chris Dahlman, Derek Deese, all offensive linemen, all banged up. But you know something? You're dealing with veterans, and veterans line up when there's an important ball game. They'll line up, and the 49ers will win.
You know, Terrell Owens and J.J. Stokes have made great strides this year after the injury to Jerry Rice, but they have not seen the likes of Deion Sanders and Kevin Smith. Here it is, the upset special.
Oh, here we go.
I like the Cowboys this week.
Well, even if the Cowboys win, San Francisco will still remain in first place in their division. Steve Mariucci is not the only rookie head coach who finds himself in first place. The Giants' Jim Fossil has New York on top in the NFC East.
Jim Fossil has given the New York Giants the steel-eyed look of a contender. But against Cincinnati last Sunday, he could only watch in horror as the Bengals seemed ready to break their 6-game losing streak.
But he's coming out at the 10. Eric Bieniemy, 103 yards.
Paced by Jeff Blake's passing, Cincinnati took a 21-10 lead into halftime. For a fiery halftime speech by Fossil, New York launched a comeback. In only his 3rd NFL start, Danny Cannell continued to play with poise and led 3 second-half scoring drives. 4th quarter touchdowns by Tyrone Wheatley lifted New York into a 29-21 lead. Trailing by 8 with 1:31 remaining, the Bengals took one final run at a win.
Forward, yes, down, Cincinnati. Quarterback draw, baby. The Bengals are within 2, but they've got to go for 2.
29-27 Giants. 2-point conversion for Cincinnati. Blake lost one left, picked up by Seahorn.
The Giants take their surprising 6-3 record into a bye week, while the discouraged 1-7 Bengals host San Diego. At the end of the tunnel for the Chargers this season has been running back Gary Brown, who each week is looking more and more like 1997's comeback player of the year. Against the Colts, Brown ran for 169 yards and a touchdown and helped stake the Chargers to a 29-13 fourth-quarter lead. That's when the fun began.
Soldier of fortune. Will kick. It's blocked. It's blocked. It rolls all the way back to the 50. Picked up by player streaking down the sidelines is McElroy. He will score for a touchdown for Indianapolis.
The Colts' sudden shift of fortune appeared heaven-sent, but the following kickoff sent Indianapolis right back into its winless hell.
Kick. It's grabbed by San Diego's Rodney Harrison. 30 to the 20 to the 10. He scores. Touchdown San Diego. Rodney Harrison scores off an onside kick.
San Diego heads into Cincinnati this week after earning win number 4. The Colts, on the other hand, will be looking for their first victory against the Buccaneers, who last week battled the Vikings for first place in the NFC Central. Defense by both teams produced a scoreless first half, but when the bell sounded for the second half, it was the Vikings who came out pounding.
2 coming up. That's a toilet stool. Yeah. Had a pot and pan. Everybody, but I got mine.
A field goal gave the Vikings the lead. Then David Palmer's 57-yard punt return carried the Vikings offense close enough to finally punch one in against the stubborn Bucs defense.
Johnson hands off to Chuck Evans. He wriggles in close, and a touchdown for Evans.
Boy, I don't think he made it. Tough in the games. It's all going to be Mike Tough running TTs, Mike Tough running TEs. It's all TTs and TEs. You ready to set up first, switch it up. There's no pressure. Just stay out to work. Get the ball good field position. You got to score.
After only 3 first downs in 3 quarters, Tampa Bay's offense finally put a drive together in the 4th.
So it's 3rd down and goal. Here's the snap. A quick, tiny penalty. See if Tampa Bay can add the extra point. The kicker, Houston, who bangs up the extra point and hit the goalpost and came away no good.
We're going to have it again. This big section point ain't going to hurt us. We get down, we score another touchdown before we get back down there.
In the final seconds, the Bucs made one desperate drive. But instead of a field goal to tie, Tampa needed a touchdown to win.
4 wideouts, 1 setback. Gopher under center, retreating, looking, cocking, and throwing. Incomplete pass, game over. And Minnesota pulls out a 10-6 win. This has been a squirrel derby.
This is what it feels like when living on the field. Sitting here, they shoot me from probably chest up. Totally naked, and I don't care because I'm too tired. They get up and grab a towel or take a shower.
We're in first place. We earn the right to be in first place, and every single game is going to be a battle. Chris Carter said it right at halftime. 0-0, that's what you can expect. 21-21, that's what you can expect. You can't say what kind of game it's going to be, except you know it's going to be tough, hard-nosed, and physical, and you got to really, really want it. And I think we've got that fire in our belly. Great team effort. Great team effort.
It doesn't get much better than a rematch of last year's Super Bowl on Monday Night Football. Unless, of course, the game is actually close. Brett Favre and Dorsey Levens gave the Packers an early lead. Touchdown pass to Ben Coates tied the game at 7, but it would be their only trip to the end zone thanks to Green Bay's red zone defense. The Packers took the lead for good on the second of Favre's 3 touchdown passes. After a few early missteps, Green Bay again looks like the defending champions they are.
Last week, the Patriots lost at home. Now they have to travel to Minnesota to take on a team that has won 4 in a row. And since both of these teams are tied for first place in their respective divisions, this is an important
Lenny,
game.
there's an uprising in New England, man. The fans are wondering, do we have a real head coach in Pete Carroll? The reason I say that, they're on the 1-yard line against the Packers. They have Curtis Martin in the backfield. So what do? They throw 3 passes instead of hand it off and try to score on the ground. This is a team that's lost 3 out of the last 4 ball games, a team that was supposed to dominate. They are nothing but a mouse that roared. I like the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow, I like the Minnesota Vikings because of the quarterback. Forget about quarterback ratings. Forget about all those fancy things. They have the #1 quarterback in the National Football League that throws under pressure, throws the football complete with people hanging on him, pulling on his arm, on his hip. This is the #1 quarterback with pressure.
You stand for a lot of
I will.
I'll tell you what, I'm in a more subdued way. I like the Minnesota Vikings as well. I'll tell you why. The running attack of the New England Patriots. First 3 ball games, Curtis Martin, 28 carries per ball game, 3-0. The last 5 ball games, 18 carries a game. Not enough. They're 2-3. 52 yards is John Randall and the Vikings allowed last week to Tampa Bay. They'll do the same thing to New England. I like Minnesota.
Well, I can't believe it, but I'm picking the Vikings as well, even without Robert Smith, who I think is one of the best players in this league. But New England's secondary has just been getting picked apart the last couple of weeks, and now it's Chris Carter and Jake Reed and Brad Johnson. I'll take the Vikings.
Well, we all agree on a couple of things. First of all, Minnesota is going to win, and the weather will not be a problem in Minnesota because they play inside. But in other cities, weather starts to become a factor around this time of year.
A day-long downpour kept the NFL's top-ranked pass attack on the shelf. Instead, Ted Marchibroda's strategy was simple. Use the mud and rain and run it down the Redskins' throats. This Battle of the Beltway, number 33 Bam Morris was the preferred instrument of destruction. Against the league's second-worst ground defense, he broke a pair of Raven records by carrying a whopping 36 times or 176 yards, and one of the Ravens' 2 touchdowns. It ended an impressive 11-minute drive. 41 seconds remaining, Washington had one last chance.
To throw in the pocket, now moves over, and kicked out. Ray Lewis has it. Thompson deflected it. Ray Lewis with the interception, and now it looks like the Ravens have salted this one away.
On both teams' records to 4-4 and handed the Redskins their first loss ever in Jack Kent Cooke Stadium. Even worse for Washington, just ahead loomed the re-energized Bears, who Monday night pulled off a late-night upset, nearly as expected. Game 7 of the World Series played on this same field 24 hours before. This was a game of one huge play after another.
Here's the handoff on the draw. Jerris McPhail off left side. 7. Stuff happens.
For winless Chicago, a dark night turned darker as Miami scored every way possible.
Over the middle to Prohl, and he dives, he fumbled the ball! Terrell Buckley!
Trailing 33-18 midway through the fourth quarter, the Bears' offense unexpectedly arose and began an unlikely comeback.
Here's Kramer pumping once, now looping into the end zone, hands open again! He's got it, and it's a touchdown! He just torched Calvin Jackson.
Now in overtime, it was the Dolphins' turn to sweat. The Bears' 4th sack of Dan Marino gave them possession on the Dolphins' 17, and this, the Monday night game that hardly anyone saw, came down to its inevitable conclusion.
Here's the stamp placement made, the kick to the upright, and it is yes! The Bears have definitely won! And on the 8th weekend of the season, they win their first game.
This week, the Dolphins traveled to Buffalo, and they shouldn't have as much trouble getting there as the Broncos did last weekend. With their flight delayed Saturday in the Colorado blizzard, the Broncos arrived in Buffalo just 13 hours before kickoff. They quickly made up for lost time by burying Buffalo in a steady flurry of Terrell Davis. Carried a team record 42 times for 207 yards as he eclipsed 1,000 yards for the season. The Denver defense, meanwhile, took advantage of a Bills team with the AFC's worst turnover ratio. A 20-0 lead before Buffalo replaced starting quarterback Todd Collins with Alex Van Pelt. Stood up to the Denver defense and rallied the Bills to 20 unanswered fourth-quarter points, including the game-tying field goal in the final seconds.
Christie with 8 seconds left. 55 yards. It's down. It's on the way. And it is good!
Time the Broncos won the toss, but elected to kick, opting to have the wind at their backs. It paid off when Jason Elam rescued his team with a game-winning field goal. This week, the Broncos will avoid any travel problems by staying home against the Seahawks. While the Seattle music scene may not be as hot as it used to be, last Sunday the town played host to a runner who has finally found Nirvana. Raiders also found an unusual gift off the foot of Seahawks receiver Joey Galloway.
Shotgun fires, and it is behind Joey Galloway. No, they say it must have hit somebody's foot and bounced into the hands of Washington.
Jeff George fired 2 scoring strikes to James Jett and is now tied for the league lead with 18 touchdown passes. But just when it looked like the Raiders were rolling, they got rocked. Seahawks trailing most of the day, the ageless Warren Moon sparked a Seattle revival.
Short drop, out chased out of the pocket by McLaughlin, still being chased to his right. Warren looks and lobs it, got it complete, down at the 30, down to the 25-20. Takes a tackle, he goes in for 6, I can't believe it.
The 40-year-old Moon became the oldest player ever to throw for 400 yards in a game, and the oldest to throw 5 touchdowns as well, with 3 going to Joey Galloway. #1 rated offense looked to make a big move in the AFC West this week in Denver.
Warren does magic on the field, doesn't he? And the amazing thing about Warren Moon is we're just 3 weeks or 1 full moon away from his 41st birthday. One thing's for certain, Seattle is Warren Moon's team. Let's update some quarterback situations around the league. In Arizona, Jake Plummer earns a 2nd NFL start. In Buffalo, Alex Van Pelt earns a start after a great relief performance. In New York, Glenn Foley does not. Now for some more inside information, let's go to Chris Collinsworth and Gary Myers.
All right, Lenny, thanks. Gary, a very strange week in the National Football League. Let's start with the Jim Kelly, Jim Harbaugh incident. Of course, Harbaugh came out of that with a broken bone on his throwing hand. How did it impact the Colts?
Well, Chris, it didn't impact them at all last weekend in San Diego because Harbaugh was not going to play anyhow. He suffered an ankle injury the week before against Buffalo. When I spoke with Bill Tobin, the Colts vice president, he said that Harbaugh could have played this Sunday against Tampa. Instead, because of the broken bone, he's not going to be able to play. He's losing $147,000 a week. He's on the non-football injury list.
All right, now an even stranger situation. Keenan McCardell of the Jacksonville Jaguars allegedly left a threatening phone call on Greg Lloyd's answering machine. Greg Lloyd retaliated in the ball game, took a cheap shot at McCardell. Where does all that stand now?
Well, he will be fined for that hit, but according to 2 sources, what happened was last week, indeed, there was a message left on Lloyd's answering machine from somebody identifying themselves as McCardell. The league's investigation showed no evidence that it was McCardell who left that message. Now, what the sources say is the message was more trash talking. It wasn't threatening Lloyd or his family. Bill Cowher has confirmed that is the story that Greg Lloyd told him, and that when he confronted McCardell, he just said, how can you leave a message on my machine like that my family could hear?
All right, now let's go to Miami. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins, missed a practice on Friday to attend the birth of his new baby daughter. Jimmy Johnson didn't start him in the ball game on Monday night. Do we have another baby gate here?
Well, when I asked Jimmy if he was punishing Abdul-Jabbar for missing practice in the meetings, he said no, that he just considers Thursday and Friday his most important practices of the week. He treated it as if Abdul-Jabbar was injured and couldn't be there. He felt he wasn't up to speed on the blitz pickups. That's why he started Irving Spikes. But ironically, in overtime, when Barry Minter came on a blitz and sacked Dan Marino, who fumbled, leading to the Bears' winning field goal, Jimmy said that Abdul-Jabbar was out of position. He was responsible picking up Minter on the blitz.
All right, finally now, let's talk about the situation with Dennis Green, the Minnesota Vikings, a very unsettled situation there. What's the latest?
Well, Green has backtracked from comments made in his book. He said it was just a scenario he was considering about how he was going to force his way into ownership. But, you know, his contract goes through 98, but with the board of directors so upset with him, you really have to wonder if he's going to make it past this season. But Green's situation has been overshadowed by the fact that the Vikings are now for sale. The 10 board of directors, who each own about 10% of the team, have been unable to come up with a 30% owner to comply with league policy. That, combined with the fact that they're unhappy about the stadium situation, the Vikings are now for sale, and you have to wonder about their future in Minneapolis.
All right, Gary, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Okay, Chris.
Well, in an age when 300-pounders were rare and athletes who spoke up or held out for more money were even rarer, Ernie Ladd stood out. Kurt Gowdy looks back at one of the great defensive tackles of the old American Football League.
You're black and you want something for nothing. Listen, the system hasn't been right for a long, long time. But it might not never get right during our lifetime. But you don't stop living.
Ernie Ladd has always been a man with strong convictions, and controversy always followed him. But he was also a great defensive tackle for the San Diego Chargers in the 60s. At 6'9" and 300 pounds, Ladd anchored a line that terrorized quarterbacks.
My attitude, I thought I was the best man, and I played like I was the best man every play. I thought I could beat my man from every play. And I come down on a quarterback pretty hard.
Nicknamed Big Cat for his speed, Ladd was an AFL All-Star 4 times. But where Ernie prowled, so did trouble. When the league banned goatees, Ernie kept his. And in 1966, he became one of the AFL's first to hold out for more money.
Well, when they asked a guy, they said a guy's a troublemaker, hard to get along with. And if he was black, you were a militant. If you were white, you could be called anything else but a militant. And if you chose to make a decision for yourself and begin to think for yourself, then you were a troublemaker. Well, they'd give you all kind of threats, and teammates would come to you and say, man, don't get barred out of the league. You couldn't threaten me.
Ladd did sign with the Oilers and played one more year with the Chiefs. He continued his wrestling career, which he started in the off-seasons. But in 1981, his life changed completely when a stranger asked to pray with him.
I got on my knees and we started praying. My life started going before me, and the next thing I know, that my life had totally changed. I was smoking like 5 packs of cigarettes a day. I never had a cigarette since then. I was committing adultery, and I've never known another woman since then other than my wife. And I feel embarrassed to say it, but it's true. But when you got Christ in your life, you got everything.
Today at age 59, Ladd has walked the straight line for a while, but at a slower pace. 8 knee operations have taken their toll. He lives in Louisiana and is a stockholder of an aerosol manufacturing company. Over the years, Ernie has made significant political contacts. He uses their influence to help his company.
It is important for me to be able to help a minority company because, first of all, I'm a descendant of a slave. It's my job to open the doors to get to the person that can make a decision. If you can't make a decision, then you're wasting my time. And I certainly don't want to waste your time.
Ladd today tries to spend his time with his family. However, his oldest son is in prison. Ladd often visits his son, as well as other prisoners, hoping to send a message.
If you put quality in your head. I was an absentee father in the beginning of my oldest boy's life. I regret it. Maybe some other kids can hear this and it might make a difference. The same blood that runs through his veins runs through my veins. I have to love my oldest son the same as I love my daughter, my second son, and my baby son. I love all 4. They wear the name of Ladd, L-A-D-D.
There still may be time for Ernie Ladd to impart the hard lessons he's learned to his own children. The name Ladd, L-A-D-D, will always stand for strong people with strong convictions.
The big cat, Ernie Ladd, you know, he was a great athlete. He went to Grambling on a basketball scholarship.
Hey, how about the bookend on the other side, Earl Faison, huh?
Yeah,
Not
when I
too
played
bad.
the Chargers, that's how we developed the moving pocket to get away from those
All
guys.
I know is he was throwing you around pretty good.
Like a rag doll out there. That's why I lobbied to get him on our team so I'd have to face him all the time. I'm lobbying to find out what happened last week in the pick segment. Jerry, 11-3 in first place. That's time to celebrate. All right.
You know, we had a guy online that went 14-0, this Rick Winthizer, so just sit
Rick
down.
had to call me to get that.
Yeah.
What about the season? Let's see if Jerry's jumping up and cheering now. Oh, I see. Well, unfortunately, he's down.
Congratulations.
Earlier in the show, we picked several games. Now it's time to pick the rest. Look for Oakland to go to more zone defense this week. Chris likes the Raiders, but Nick, Jerry, and I like Carolina. Philadelphia is 0-4 on the road. That streak will end in Arizona. We all like the Eagles. St. Louis travels to Atlanta. The Falcons' defensive coordinator is Rich Brooks, who was fired by the Rams last year, so look for a lot of blitzing. I like the Rams, but Nick, Chris, and Jerry like the Falcons. The Chargers have a chance to move above the 500 mark. We think they'll do it by defeating the Bengals. Tampa Bay will break a 3-game losing streak with a victory over Paul Justin and the Colts. And Washington travels to the Windy City, where I like the Redskins, but Nick, Chris, and Jerry like the Bears, who are coming off an upset victory over the Miami Dolphins. Now for the rest of the games in more detail, we're going to start with Jerry because he was #1 this week in the selection. We got Baltimore at the Jets, Jerry. Now the Ravens didn't win a road game last year, but this year they're 3-1 on the road.
Well, the Jets are on a mission to do all the little things right. And what they've done is they've dropped penalties 38%. Their mission for the bye week was to get Adrian Morrell more yards per carry. They worked on that. And if you're going against the Ravens, you got more yards per carry. Jets win.
But you've got to look out now for this Baltimore Ravens team, especially with the way that Bam Morris is running the football. This is going to be a shootout, a perfect game for Neil O'Donnell to come back and establish himself as a quarterback. I'm staying with the Jets.
This is my celebrity pick of the week.
There it is.
Hey, none other than Donald Trump, mogul developer, owner of the USFL team. Remember, casino, the whole 9 yards. He owns everything. He likes the Jets. The reason for that is because Eugene Daniel and Antonio Langham, the 2 cornerbacks for Baltimore, both have hamstring problems going against Keyshawn Johnson, Wayne Corbett, and Jeff Graham. Forget it. The Jets win.
Do you think Donald Trump really said all that?
I don't know. Did he actually know that these guys are in?
Of course he does.
Well, I'm going to go with the Jets, too, because not only can he pick the Jets, he's got enough money to buy the Jets as well. Also, Neil O'Donnell must produce or he is out of there, and he's going against a very weak pass defense. All right, Chris, next up, Jacksonville at Tennessee.
Well, you know, Mark Brunell busted the middle knuckle on his throwing hand on the left side.
How did he do that?
Well, I don't know.
Hitting Jim Kelly?
No, it had nothing to do with Jim Kelly. But the one thing that we've learned about this Jacksonville team is that even if Rob Johnson's in there, they can still win games. I like Jacksonville.
You know, Jacksonville early on had that great offense, but the reason they had that is they had Natron Means, who used to pound the line, set up that play-action pass to Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell. Forget it. Natron Means is out. Tennessee wins.
What's happened to the Jaguars? The last 3 road games, they've lost all 3 games, just like they did in their first season in the National Football League. The Oilers, they're blitzing less and playing better. And what the coaches do? Quarterback draw with McNair. Every week they had a play, Oilers win again with McNair.
I like to go with the guys who are on a roll.
Did you understand what he said?
I have no idea. McNair's going to score a couple of touchdowns, I think. But the last 3 weeks, Oilers, no turnovers. They have forced 11. I go with the Oilers. Nick, we got Miami at Buffalo. The Dolphins had an unscheduled Monday night game, so they've had less time to prepare for Buffalo.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The offensive line, especially Richmond Webb, made John Theory from the Chicago Bears look like an all-pro. This week, Webb has to block Bruce Smith, who already has 10 sacks, but I think this time he will step up and do it. Miami will win.
Chris Spielman, Buffalo Bills, heart and soul of the defense, out for the year. Maybe done forever. Nerve damage, neck damage, Todd Collins benched. It wasn't Todd Collins' fault. I'm going with Miami.
Miami last week, penalties, sacks, turnovers. They haven't done that all year. They'll get back on track. I like the Dolphins.
Buffalo has turned it over 24 times already so this year. I like Miami. We got Seattle at Denver. These teams met in week 2, and after the game, the Seahawks were 0-2, and they lost their first 2 games by a combined 59 points.
What about Warren Moon last week? Warren Moon, 5 touchdowns, no sacks. Big problem for Warren Moon. 30% of his plays are in an audible. You can't audible in Denver, they'll get beat.
Terrell Davis on pace to set an all-time single-season rushing record. I like the Denver Broncos. It's that time of year.
Hey, how about Joey Galloway? 15 catches the last 2 ball games, but he is going to Mecca. Denver is Mecca, and they don't lose in Mecca. I like the Broncos.
In order to beat Seattle, you got to put some heat on Warren Moon, and the best pass rusher is Neil Smith. He's out of the game with a tricep tear. I go with Seattle. We got Detroit at Green Bay. Green Bay lost at Detroit the month ago.
Return of Gilbert Brown, though, really helped this run defense for the Green Bay Packers. They'll need it against Barry Sanders. I like the Packers.
You know, Brett Favre suffered in September. He threw 7 interceptions, but he was reborn in October, only threw 1. He's on a roll. I like the Pack.
Well, the Packers are back, but I think the toughest job is for the head coach, Mike Holmgren. Favre is so good, you sort of get away from the running game. He has to stick with their running game. I think he learned a lesson last week. Packers win another one.
We saw what the Packers could do a week ago. They're almost impossible to beat in Green Bay. I like Green Bay. That's our show for this week. Remember, Inside the NFL premieres each Thursday evening at 11 p.m. If you miss any part of it, you can catch it again at Fridays at 7 p.m., Saturdays at 11 a.m. Next week, we're taking our show on the road, but not very far. We're moving on uptown to Times Square to preview the toast of the Big Apple, the New York Giants and the New York Jets. So for Nick, Chris, and #1 picker this week, Jerry, I'm Len Dawson saying thanks for watching the show The Ghost, the Goblins, and the Witches Watch Inside the NFL. Boxing After Dark returns to HBO Saturday night with a heavyweight doubleheader from the historic Apollo Theater in Harlem. Lou Savarese battles David Izon, and Obed Sullivan takes on Hasim Rahman. That's Saturday at 11:30 right here on HBO.
Fans were shut up so I could hear